In order to become the founding Empress, Consort Wan and I fought tooth and nail. It wasn't until Concubine Chun from a fallen clan ascended to the position of Empress and lived in marital bliss that we suddenly realized she was the one the Emperor held dearest in his heart. In the end, the Emperor massacred our two clans under the charge of rebellion, and we were both decreed to die, perishing with hatred. When I opened my eyes again, both of us had been reborn. I have decided to choose one person between Consort Wan and Consort Jin to temporarily manage the Phoenix Seal. The concubines from the various clans all looked towards me, and Consort Wan, some with envy, some with jealousy. Under those various gazes, Consort Wan stood up. "Many thanks for your Majesty's favor, but my seniority is still shallow, and I haven't been feeling well recently. Let sister take the trouble with this matter." It wasn't until Consort Wan declined the authority over the harem that I confirmed I had truly experienced rebirth. Holding the Phoenix Seal is the symbol of the Empress's status and power. For this reason, in my past life, Consort Wan and I refused to yield to each other, eventually handing this duty over to Concubine Chun, whom we were both on good terms with. Simply because she came from a declining clan and was a remarried woman, she didn't vie for attention after entering the palace, making her completely different from the other concubines. We never considered her a rival and trusted her quite a bit. It was even a common occurrence for us to help steer some of the Emperor's favor her way. Only now do I realize that I thought I was the chess player, but I was merely a piece in the game. After entering the palace, Consort Wan and I fought endlessly over every little thing. Yet now Consort Wan actually became yielding. The way everyone in the harem looked at Consort Wan was as if they had seen a ghost. Noble Lady Li, whom I am close with, was the first to break the atmosphere, saying, "The Emperor has discerning eyes. Consort Jin is virtuous, intelligent, and graceful. She will certainly be able to manage the harem's affairs well for the Emperor." Noble Lady Li wanted the Emperor to solidify my status. But the Emperor didn't take the cue, instead asking Consort Wan, "Since Consort Wan has been unwell lately, let your sister take care of you more. Other matters can be discussed later." Consort Wan and I exchanged a casual glance, a tacit understanding between us. Others might think the Emperor said this because he wanted to give the Phoenix Seal to Consort Wan to manage, but only we knew he wanted to save it for his beloved concubine Chun. In the previous life, we were used as whetstones and shields. In this life, it is time for a change. The banquet ended, and everyone prepared to return to the palace. Concubine Chun, however, started offering congratulations in front of everyone. "Congratulations, Sister Consort Jin. Once Sister Consort Wan recovers, you'll be able to temporarily hold the Phoenix Seal and manage the harem." Looking at her innocent and naive face, I sneered inwardly, setting up a stage. "Are you? Then I'll sing along. Sister Chun Pin, you've congratulated the wrong person, haven't you? Sister Wan Fei is the apple of the Emperor's eye. The matter of the Phoenix Seal must wait until Sister recovers to be discussed. I reckon it will most likely be handed over to Sister Wan Fei." I glanced at Consort Wan with feigned envy, and the tacit understanding between sworn enemies made Consort Wan instantly understand my meaning. "Sister, you must be joking. The Emperor spreads his favor equally. All the sisters here receive the same grace." Stopping mid-sentence, Consort Wan exclaimed in surprise, "Eh, Sister Chun Pin, that bracelet faintly visible on your hand. Why does it look to me like the dragon and Phoenix Ruyi emerald bangle?" Hearing this, Yan Pin walked over from her seat and said in disbelief, "It really is the dragon and Phoenix Ruyi emerald bangle. It is said that tying a man and woman's hair in the secret compartment can ensure a love that never fades. To think you actually obtained this item." Concubine Chun flusteredly pulled down her sleeves. "You two sisters perhaps saw wrong. It is just an ordinary bracelet, with no special meaning." Concubine Yan was a bit angry at being doubted, continuing to insist. "Impossible. This is a tribute from our Yan clan. I absolutely wouldn't mistake it. The Yan clan that Concubine Yan belonged to was a prominent merchant family, specializing in seeking out rare treasures and exotic gems from all over. Coupled with her straightforward personality, if she determined it was real, then it couldn't be fake. This remark piqued the interest of the concubines from other clans, and they all looked over. Everyone must have wanted to hear how Consort Chun got such a special item. Consort Chun didn't know what to do and cast a pleading glance at me. She was always like this in my past life. She'd come to me for help with anything she couldn't handle, no matter how big or small. Since she was the only one in the whole harem who didn't fight, I helped her out a bit. Who knew she'd turn out to be the one to sit back and reap the benefits in the end? In this second life, it is plenty good enough if I just don't kick someone while they're down. But out of the corner of my eye, I caught a flash of bright yellow in the shadows, so I slowly spoke up. I believe Sister Chun. She is innocent and simple and wouldn't lie. Consort Yan, you really got it wrong this time. After that, no matter who spoke, I defended Consort Chun with all my might, like a hen guarding her chicks. I didn't breathe a sigh of relief until that flash of bright yellow departed. Not long after returning to Jiaohe Palace, I dismissed everyone, and Su Yuan entered my bedchamber dressed in a palace maid's outfit. Sister, this time I will help you ascend to the position of Empress with all my strength, but I have one condition. Her gaze turned vicious as she whispered in my ear. Her idea coincided exactly with mine. All right, I agree. Su Yuan and I officially became allies, taking a blood oath unique to our two clans, never to betray each other. The Emperor had sworn an oath to our two clans before. If he ascended the throne, the Empress would come from the Su or Li clan. Yet, after obtaining our full support, he went back on his word. He doesn't know that the price for deceiving the ancestral witches is agonizing. After forming the alliance, we exchanged resources and informed each other of all our clan's forces and hidden spies within the palace, just in case. As she was leaving, Su Yuan turned back and gave me a playful smile. You'd better remove that pot of peonies in the back. There is a strange fragrance inside that prevents pregnancy, you know. No wonder I couldn't get pregnant no matter what I tried in my past life. Since she is showing such sincerity, I'll lay my cards on the table too. You'd better stop taking those jade face pills you use so often. They easily cause heart palpitations and sleeplessness, or even make you delirious. As expected, the eunuch from the Department of Household Affairs came to inform me that the Emperor flipped my nameplate, telling me to prepare for my first time serving him in bed since entering the palace. After sending the eunuch away, I had Pinger send a message to Consort Wan. I soaked in the family's special medicinal bath for a full hour, and only then did my smooth, delicate body, white as jade, step out of the tub with assistance. Because I've maintained myself like this since childhood, even though I didn't win the Emperor's heart in my past life, I was the concubine who received his favors the most. I am very confident when it comes to serving him in bed. A wife isn't as good as a concubine. A concubine isn't as good as a secret affair, and a secret affair isn't as good as the one you can't quite get. Tonight, I will definitely make the Emperor itch with unbearable desire. After our lips and teeth intertwined, my soft, delicate body pressed tight against the man, and my restless hands kept lighting fires. The Emperor's eyes grew dark and hazy, but just as he wanted to engage in a deeper exchange, a maid's anxious shout came from outside the door. Your Majesty, Concubine Chun has been poisoned. Upon hearing this, the Emperor was stunned for a moment, then got up and walked toward the door. Your Majesty, wait for me. Perhaps because I was too deep in character just now, my voice still carried a soft, sticky charm. But the Emperor didn't stop his steps, leaving only a hastily retreating figure. Pinger came in to dress me. I sat before the bronze mirror and rubbed my eyes hard, switching to an expression of suppressed grievance, then followed after them with satisfaction. By the time I reached Jinghua Hall, I happened to hear the imperial physician's diagnosis. Answering Your Majesty, Her Highness likely consumed aconite by mistake. Fortunately, she didn't ingest much. This humble subject will prescribe an antidote immediately, and she will be fine. The emperor spoke in a furious tone. Investigate this for us. Get to the bottom of this matter. I secretly pulled my clothing down a bit and walked in with a worried look. How is Sister Chun-Pin doing? These people are truly presumptuous. The emperor knocked the tea handed to him by Eunuch Fu onto the ground. Frightened, I took a step back and knelt down to pay my respects. After a long while, the emperor walked over and helped me up. Did I scare you? Chun-Pin is fine. We are just angry to think there is such a vicious person in the inner palace. If this isn't investigated thoroughly, there will be chaos in the future. I remained silent on the surface, but secretly anticipated in my heart. If it turns out to be the doing of your heart's darling Chun-Pin, what kind of expression will your majesty have then? The emperor stared at the red mark on my neck, his tone softening considerably. Chun-Pin shouldn't be in any danger. Beloved consort, you should go back and rest. I put on a desolate expression. Then this concubine will return to Jiaohe Palace. As soon as I returned to Jiaohe Palace, rare treasures were sent in continuously. It seems the investigation is just about done. He feels guilty and wants to make amends. The next day, the matter of Chun-Pin's poisoning was clarified by Eunuch Fu. It was a maid in Chun-Pin's palace who, harboring resentment after being punished for a mistake, had maliciously plotted the harm. The emperor ordered her to be beaten to death. Consort Wan and I learned through an insider that the truth Eunuch Fu uncovered is that all evidence points to Consort Chun staging the whole thing herself. The emperor gave Consort Chun a way out, but a thorn has ultimately been planted in his heart. The moment you made a move, sister, that Buddhist-style innocent little white flower really exposed her true nature of vying for favor. I calmly took a sip of tea. I noticed it in my past life. I know that in the end, she was the one who had the two of us executed. Su Yuan froze, endless chills bursting from her eyes. No wonder, that day, I bitterly begged the eunuch to tell the emperor I was pregnant. Yet those castrated men still unscrupulously strangled me with white silk. I thought the emperor didn't even want his own child, but it turned out to be her. This time, it was my turn to be shocked. Consort Chun couldn't even tolerate an unborn imperial heir. With such character, how is she fit to be the empress? I can't believe she is this stupid. We just let her find out about your seductive figure, sister. Plus a few whispers from the servants. And she got jealous enough to stage her own poisoning. Doesn't she know that regarding serving the emperor in bed, she can block it for a moment, but can she block it forever? I stroked Consort Wan's hand. You are clever, sister. Since we get a do-over, let's not be shields anymore. Why not let the arrows aimed at her come a bit more violently? Su Yuan nodded knowingly. Then let's not let her off easily. A few days later, the emperor was overwhelmed in the Qinzheng Hall. The vassal tribes were restless with a hint of rebellious intent, requiring troops to suppress them. Yet a suitable candidate could not be found. Meanwhile, the story of the emperor flying into a rage over Concubine Chun's poisoning spread vividly throughout the entire harem. Everyone's eyes were focused on Concubine Chun. Some even dug up the history between her and the emperor from their childhood, firmly cementing her title as the favored concubine. Once the emperor found out about this, he investigated the source of the rumors, confined Concubine Yan for half a year, and fined her a year's allowance. Little did he know, the heavier the punishment, the more it confirmed the rumors. Consort Wan and I couldn't help but sigh. If the war hero Prince Rui hadn't gone missing with heavy injuries back then, and had ascended the throne instead, that would have been truly well-deserved. People in the harem started making moves against Concubine Chun to test the emperor's affection. Just when Consort Wan and I thought the emperor would openly protect her, he unexpectedly turned a blind eye, delusionally thinking he could prove the rumors false in his own way. While Concubine Chun's monthly allowance was being docked, and she was being punished by kneeling whenever she went out, the emperor summoned me to serve in bed every day, venting his lust every night, shifting everyone's attention back onto me. If he didn't stare at me while I drank the health tonic, after serving him every day, I might have almost believed I was the emperor's favored concubine, too. This so-called great tonic was actually a contraceptive. It was only when I was on the verge of death in my past life that I learned. Before Concubine Chun fell pregnant, everyone in the harem had to drink this contraceptive soup. Thinking of this, I sent a secret letter home. Half a month later, the investiture book, the phoenix seal, and the imperial decree to temporarily manage the harem were delivered together to Jiaohe Palace. Now that the harem had someone in charge, Concubine Chun came running to me, weeping and complaining. She said rumors were being spread about her, drawing everyone's jealousy and hatred, and that her allowances for clothing and food were being docked. Listening to the chattering in my ears, my thoughts drifted outside the palace. Consort Wan's father fell suddenly ill, and the emperor allowed her to return home to visit her family. We agreed to correspond daily, yet contact has been cut off for the past few days. This didn't happen in my past life. I had an increasingly ominous premonition. After casually sending Concubine Chun away, Eunuch Fu came to inform me that the emperor intends to hold a small family banquet at Qinghui Hall, the day after tomorrow, to celebrate Prince Rui's victorious return, and I am to organize it. I remembered that in my past life, Concubine Chun was managing affairs, so this task was handled by her. In order to show off my talents before the emperor, I had helped her arrange quite a lot of it back then, so handling it now is second nature to me. Thinking about how I would get to see Prince Rui this time, I formed a new plan. I took out the drugs sent from home half a month ago and instructed my mole in Jinghua Hall to wait for a chance to administer them to Concubine Chun. On the day of the family banquet, I specially wore a floral kingfisher feather hairpin that had been gathering dust for a long time. When I arrived at Qinghui Hall with the emperor, Prince Rui had been waiting for a long time. He was dressed in a black python robe, his temperament extraordinarily noble, even surpassing the Son of Heaven seated in the place of honor. After exchanging greetings, his gaze lingered on the hairpin. He froze for a moment, then quickly withdrew his gaze. After 3 rounds of wine, Eunuch Fu whispered in the emperor's ear. A trace of pleasant surprise flashed in the emperor's eyes, and he then left the banquet, instructing me to keep the prince company and drink to our heart's content. After the emperor left the banquet, I didn't say a word, drinking cup after cup of wine in gloomy silence, while those seated below accompanied me in drinking cup after cuppa. Moment later, I stood up in a daze. The night is deep. People have been sent to tidy up Qianqiu Hall. The prince should rest in the palace tonight. I am overcome by the wine, so I shall excuse myself first. My hairpins and jewelry removed, I signaled Pinger with a glance, leaving me all alone in the vast bedchamber. Under the dim candlelight, a black figure leaped in through the window, coming straight at me until cornering me against the wall. Yuaner, long time no see. Gentle, warm breath drifted into my ear, like a whisper between lovers. I calmly met his gaze, took out a hairpin. I wonder if I can call in a past favor and ask your highness for a little help. He chuckled lightly. A small favor. This prince remembers the promise of this hairpin was, if you wear this hairpin, I will marry you. How does Yuaner want this prince to help? If one could marry their beloved, who would choose to intrude on another's relationship, fighting for that bit of meager favor in this ice-cold place. If your highness doesn't want to help, then, the waist beneath him tightened. He suddenly lowered his head and captured my lips. I pushed him away hard. If your highness thinks I am not dying fast enough, then continue. If you are willing, I can take you away at any time. Saying that, he leaned down, wanting to once again. I raised my hand to block him, saying unhappily, I have serious business to discuss with your highness. My serious appearance made him gradually sober up. How does Yuaner want me to help you? I told him about the matter regarding Consort Wan and asked him to help me scout the situation. As he was about to leave, I spoke with difficulty, eyes holding tears. That day, I did not intentionally break my promise. Father said the divination predicted that if I didn't enter the palace, the Liu clan would cease to exist. I had no choice. He gently wiped the tears from my cheek for me. I know. The sleeping hall was left with just me alone again. Clutching the exquisite hairpin in my hand, I smiled with satisfaction. 2 years ago, during the process of unifying the world, a massive battle broke out causing heavy losses. The late emperor and 3 princes died on the battlefield, and Prince Rui went missing with his whereabouts unknown. The sorcerer's divination showed that Prince Rui was alive and in the south. I proposed to Father that I go to Chongguang Temple to chant scriptures for the late emperor and pray for Prince Rui to contribute my humble effort. After Father agreed, I, however, sent people to secretly search for Prince Rui's whereabouts, just to make the future monarch owe me a debt for saving his life, paving the way for my position as Empress. I know full well that the highest position for a woman in this world does not just rely on talent and virtue, but relies more on the heart of the man in the highest position. But no matter which faction searched, none could find Prince Rui. I figured he probably didn't dare reveal himself and had gone incognito. So I had the shadow guards look for anyone acting suspicious or with an unknown identity. In the end, we finally found a lead in a deserted temple in the mountains near Lingzhou. My convoy headed there, saving many refugees along the way. In the end, outside the porridge tent, I found a lame man who was unusually drained of vitality. After gaining his trust, I took him to the Chongguang Temple Annex to settle down, treating him like an ordinary soldier. His leg was heavily injured on the battlefield, and the doctor said he wouldn't be able to walk normally again. He was in total despair and wanted to kill himself, but I stayed with him to help him overcome his inner demons, spending a fortune to treat his wounds. Back then, he asked me why I helped so many people and why I was willing to do so much for him. I told him, "You and the others are all heroes. They protect the common people and unify the country. Since we've enjoyed their protection, how could we let them down?" Since childhood, I was groomed to suit Prince Rui's tastes, and I gladly stayed here to put on an act with him, playing out a romance of growing love and mutual affection. After a year of meticulous care, he finally made a full recovery. That day, he handed me a hairpin, saying he bought it for his future bride. I accepted it happily, but didn't put it on. He fantasized about a lifetime with just the 2 of us, while I looked forward to soaring straight up 90,000 miles. He wanted to take me to live in seclusion in the mountains, but I left him without saying goodbye. He actually wanted to give up that supreme throne, wanting to never ask about worldly affairs again. Our paths are different. We cannot make plans together. Since I was born into a noble family, beautiful and clever, I was bound to fight for that position of Empress. If I were a man, I certainly wouldn't get bogged down in matters of love, blocking my own splendid future. News about Prince Rui came in very quickly. The Emperor conspired with the Su family. As long as the Su family is willing to help suppress the Liu family, he will let noble Lady Chun be entered into the Su family genealogy, and the future Empress will definitely come from the Su family. Consort Wan's father claiming illness was also to discuss with Consort Wan, to have her join forces with noble Lady Chun to deal with you. Consort Wan did not trust the Emperor and used heated words to persuade her father, which angered him. She was made to kneel in the ancestral hall for several days. I heard she has given in and will return to the palace tomorrow. The harem and the court are fraught with danger. Yuaner, if you are willing, I can take you away at any time. Looking at the last few sentences, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Since I have entered the harem, why fear the struggle? The winner becomes king, while the loser becomes a bandit. Since I made the move to spread rumors about Concubine Chun, I knew the Emperor would take countermeasures. Starting over, I won't underestimate the enemy. This help was merely a test for Prince Rui. The Sioux family's defenses are extremely tight. That he could gather information so quickly and send it to the inner palace means his strength is not to be underestimated. Since he is useful, I must maintain him. After burning the letter, I wrote him a reply with earnest words, expressing my sincere feelings for him and the helplessness of being forced to stay in the inner palace. I didn't know how many of his people were in this palace. Late at night, he slipped into my bedchamber again, telling me to wait for him to take back everything that belonged to him, wait for him to come protect me and my family. Hearing this, I nodded with eyes full of delight. All right, go fight for power. Go throw the court into chaos. I was in a great mood. I kissed his lips, taking in every bit of his scorching love. The bed curtains fell, covering a bed of spring scenery. I asked him to help me find that colorless, odorless infertility drug that no one can detect. These past few days, the Emperor has been immersed in the joy of Consort Chun's pregnancy and has been quite lax about contraception. I am going to use this medicine on the Emperor to make him impotent. That way, in the whole harem, only I will be able to get pregnant. Under the Emperor's decree, noble Lady Chun of the Chen clan, who came from a fallen family, has now reclaimed her roots in the Sioux clan and become Consort Wan's own younger sister. The news of Concubine Chun's pregnancy also spread throughout the harem, and the Emperor promoted Concubine Chun to Consort Chun. Among the 3 consorts, 2 were from the Sioux clan, breaking the balance between the Su and Lu clans. It was obvious at a glance which side the Emperor favored, and the tide in both the court and the harem was nearly turning completely to one side. With a backer, the Emperor no longer bothered to hide his fondness for Concubine Chun. Using a trivial matter as an excuse, he stripped me of my book and phoenix seal and confined me to the palace, just like how he casually ordered my death in my past life. The book and phoenix seal went to the 2 consorts Sioux, with each holding half the power. The maids and eunuchs serving in the palace were reduced by more than half. Going from a bustling doorstep to being completely ignored took nothing more than a single sentence from the one in power. Consort Wan entered Zhaohe Palace dressed as a maid once again. Sister, the Emperor swore an oath in front of father that the Empress must come from the Su family. No matter how much I tried to persuade him, father actually believes it completely. Now, father wants me to cooperate with Consort Chun. If I don't, he'll send another member of the Su family into the palace to replace me. Consort Wan perhaps doesn't understand why the Sioux and Lu families put so much faith in oaths. But before I died in my past life, I learned from Prince Rui that breaking an oath and deceiving the ancestral witch leads to the severing of one's bloodline. Even if a child were lucky enough to be born, they wouldn't live past 3 years old. The former number 1 noble clan, the Guiyang clan, vanished because of this. Therefore, both the Sioux and Lu families, as well as the late emperor, strictly abided by their oaths. However, the current emperor is a usurper. The late emperor never told him about this, so he has been using oaths to constantly seek benefits for himself. Seeing the resentment in Consort Wan's eyes, I comforted Consort Wan. In that case, sister, you should cooperate well with Consort Chun. Help her deal with me ruthlessly. Make me as miserable as possible. Sister, you know full well that Consort Chun and I are like fire and water yet. Stopping mid-sentence, she looked at me with sudden realization. I nodded. Now that she is heavily favored and holds great power, the thing to fear most is her being cautious and abiding by the rules. Don't you agree? I understand. Rest assured, sister. I will definitely cooperate well with her. Perhaps in revenge for me not backing her up last time. The Food Bureau and Clothing Bureau under Consort Chun's control are especially harsh toward Zhaohe Palace. The food sent daily is spoiled, and the winter clothing is extremely rough. With me confined in the palace, it was actually easier for Prince Rui to sneak in to see me. Looking at the food before us, his brows furrowed tight, and his handsome face darkened. From then on, separate meals were sent into Zhaohe Palace every day. The dishes were fresh and abundant, standing in sharp contrast to that other ration. Consort Chun wanted to come see how I was doing, so I deliberately changed into the new fox fur Prince Rui had sent and met her looking absolutely radiant. A trace of suspicion flashed through her eyes, and after exchanging a few pleasantries, she left in low spirits. Before long, the Imperial Household Department swapped out 2 more of my maids. Consort Wan told me these were spies sent by Consort Chun. At night, the silhouettes of Prince Rui and me were suddenly cast on the window, and a stifled gasp was heard. Prince Rui and I looked at each other and smiled. The matter soon reached Consort Chun's ears. On the night 3 days later, after Pinger applied light makeup for me, I had Pinger step onto a stool and embrace me. So the shadow on the window looked just like we were kissing. Knowing that the maid had left Zhouhe Palace, I blew out the lights and lay down, waiting quietly for my guests. In less than 15 minutes, Consort Chun arrived at Zhouhe Palace with the Emperor to catch us in the act. When Consort Chun, Consort Wan, and the Emperor barged in, I rose from the bed, my black hair cascading like a waterfall, my skin as white as snow. The bodice, thin as a cicada's wings, perfectly revealed the red rash on my skin, caused by the friction of rough clothing. Kneeling on the cold floor, trembling uncontrollably, I looked up at the Emperor with a bewildered expression, an angle I'd practiced in front of a bronze mirror, appearing weak, pitiful, and wronged. Consort Chun glanced at the Emperor, whose expression was unreadable, and forced herself to sound calm as she said, "Stop pretending. Where is Prince Rui, Your Majesty? What has happened?" Consort Wan looked at the maid who had reported the news. "Didn't you say Prince Rui was in Consort Jin's palace late at night, and that the two were incredibly intimate?" The maid knelt on the ground crying as she pleaded. Yes, I really saw Prince Rui embracing the mistress just now. I am not lying," Consort Chun said angrily. "How dare she do such a disgraceful thing? Your Majesty, this vile woman must be put to death." As Consort Chun finished speaking, the Emperor unexpectedly looked at her. Realizing she had misspoken, Consort Chun tugged at the hem of the Emperor's robe and acted coquettishly. Consort Wan spoke in surprise. "I never expected that Sister Chun, who appears so pure and kind on the surface, would also have such a vicious side. Replying to Your Majesty, I haven't seen any outside men tonight. I only have Your Majesty in my heart. I would never dare to do something like serving 2 husbands. I hope Your Majesty sees clearly." I deliberately glanced at Consort Chun when saying serving 2 husbands. Consort Chun instantly understood that I was mocking her, and for a moment, she actually wanted to come forward and hit me. Eunuch Fu came in anxiously, interrupting everything. "Your Majesty, Prince Rui was unfortunately attacked by an assassin in the military camp tonight, and his leg injury has relapsed." The Emperor glanced at us. "Why are you just standing there? Hurry up and get the Imperial physician to take a look. Do you want others to think I don't care?" The Emperor finally lost his temper, pointing at Consort Chun and Consort Wan. "You two get the hell back to your palaces. This maid has been wagging her tongue loosely. Rip out her tongue." Consort Wan winked at me, dragging Consort Chun away. The Emperor helped me up from the ground, where I was trembling with cold, and gathered me into his arms. With tears in my eyes, I looked up at him. "In my heart, there is only Your Majesty. That year during the Lantern Festival, Your Majesty was touring with your mother. Your smile warmed the soul. I saw you from afar, and secretly gave my heart to you right then. Of course I hadn't seen it. It was just that I had heard about the situations of these princes since I was little, including the 3rd prince whom nobody cared about back then, the current emperor. I saw the light in his eyes shift slightly, as if he was remembering something from very long ago. You have been wronged today." I shook my head and looked at him firmly. "If Your Majesty is willing to trust me, I won't feel wronged." Half a month later, while Consort Chun was dining with the Emperor, She started bleeding from below. After a diagnosis, the imperial physician found that it wasn't a miscarriage but her monthly period. Her repeated scheming to vie for favor made the emperor furious, and he stripped Consort Chun of her authority to temporarily manage the harem. At the same time, I also became pregnant. The emperor was afraid of repeating past mistakes, so after having several imperial physicians confirm it repeatedly, he named me noble consort to take charge of the empress's seal after giving birth. But he didn't know that the physicians in the imperial hospital were already Prince Rui's men. Lying about the months was a piece of cake. You can't blame me either. It is the ancestral witch's prophecy. I had to believe it. I didn't want the child to die before 3. So this child had to be Prince Rui's after. I became pregnant. I don't know if it was because he was afraid I'd take it hard, or because Prince Rui's power was growing. But the emperor stopped suppressing the Liu family. Instead, he focused entirely on preventing Prince Rui from seizing the throne, shutting himself in the imperial study every day. After all, Prince Rui was the heir acknowledged by the late emperor, the one the officials' hearts favored. As for him, he merely used the support of the noble clans to steal someone else's fruit. His title was unjustified. His words carried no weight. If Prince Rui wanted that seat, the generals who conquered the empire with the late emperor and Prince Rui would follow his orders blindly. Unable to take back much of the military power, the emperor couldn't eat or sleep, and got obsessed with fortune telling. He got someone to do a reading, which said that only by making me empress could he get rid of the villains. That person spoke so convincingly that the emperor believed it completely, and immediately issued the decree to make me empress. Looking at Prince Rui's colorful letter claiming credit, I was laughing my head off. But the emperor discovered that even after making me empress, Prince Rui still hadn't given up his scheming, so he became even more dispirited. Coupled with the jade face pills mixed into my and Consort Wan's food and drink. Accumulating over time, the emperor finally had a mental breakdown. During morning court, he suddenly went crazy and wanted to chop off Prince Rui's head, along with many other ministers. The officials down below all looked grim. It was an extremely ugly sight. Prince Rui ordered his men to send him to the temporary palace to recuperate, temporarily taking over state affairs and wielding all the power of a sovereign. None of the courtiers had any objections. After all, the emperor was crazy, and there was no one to inherit the throne. Even if Prince Rui were to ascend the throne now, it would be considered legitimate. Golden waves rippled in the autumn wind, and withered yellow leaves fluttered down from the branches. Finally, the day of my labor arrived. Whether in the harem or the court, everyone believed that Prince Rui would not let this child be born safely. At this moment, however, Prince Rui was pacing anxiously outside the hall. If I hadn't ordered someone to stop him, he would have charged into the delivery room just now. After a long, long time, I felt my whole body go limp. And finally, a loud cry came from beneath me. It is a prince. It is a little prince. The people in the delivery room immediately cheered with joy. I told them to take him to show Prince Rui. Then I fell into a deep sleep. Later, I heard from Pinger that Prince Rui didn't even look at the child. He rushed into the delivery room like an arrow from a bow, holding my unconscious body and crying bitterly, until the imperial doctor reminded him that I had just fainted from exhaustion and was in no serious danger. After drinking the herbal medicine prescribed by the imperial physician, I gradually got my energy back. Looking at the child in the swaddling clothes, he looked incredibly pleasing to the eye, and I couldn't help but make funny faces to tease him. How about Hanger for a nickname? After saying that, I looked at Prince Rui again. You pick the official name. You have to come up with something imposing, okay? I didn't know what triggered him. Prince Rui actually had the desire to declare himself emperor. When he mentioned it to me, alarm bells instantly went off in my head, and I firmly opposed it. He explained patiently. I want the whole world to know that you aren't his empress. You are my woman. I want to share a bed with you in life, and a grave with you in death, I cried out in anger. So you are going to let me be reviled by the whole world, to become a laughingstock for everyone's gossip? Your Honor, he still wanted to persuade me, but I turned my back firmly, unwilling to continue. Why would I care about other people's opinions? It is just that he can't be the emperor, and even if he changes his mind, the Empress won't change. Only then can I sit in this position with peace of mind. It was silent behind me. A moment later, I hugged him and whispered, "Why care about those empty titles? You are the only husband in my heart. When Hanger grows up, I will retire to the mountains with you. We will be an ordinary, loving couple, and be buried together after we die. How does that sound?" He sighed and said with relief, "All right, I'll listen to you, Honor. As long as I can be with you, Honor, every moment, I ask for nothing else." Seeing him relent, I finally felt relieved. I demoted Consort Chun to a commoner to go with Consort Wan to the temporary palace and serve the emperor. Once the deed is done, I'll leave those two for her to torture as she pleases. This is what I promised Consort Wan from the very beginning. Consort Chun's original family, the Chen clan, has also disappeared. Mercy to the enemy is cruelty to oneself. I know this logic well, just as they never spared me back then. Prince Rui found the best grand tutor to teach Hanger, and he personally supervised his studies too, hoping he would grow up quickly and be able to inherit the throne. Hanger was very smart. He could recite poems and classics at 5, and shoot from horseback at 7. I thought about the Emperor and Prince Rui, and couldn't help worrying. Everything else is perfect, but he absolutely must not be bewitched by women. Therefore, I taught him from a young age not to become addicted to pornography. That year, when he was 12, I asked him, "If in the future the woman you love gives birth to a child you don't like, if the child you like isn't born of the woman you love, which one would you choose to inherit the throne? You're applying to imperial mother as a king. One must not indulge in feminine charms. The people must be put first. Regarding the crown prince, one absolutely cannot be influenced by concubines. Your son will bestow favors equally among everyone in the harem in the future, and will not break the balance by showing excessive partiality." After saying that, he pondered for a moment, then spoke again. "If our son succeeds to the throne in the future, a rule must be established. The emperors of our dynasty must sire at least 9 sons, and the 9 sons cannot share the same mother. The next monarch is to be selected based on their character and talent." Hearing this, I was shocked, yet also very relieved. As Prince Rui lay dying, he held me tightly. "Yuaner, I truly regret that we still couldn't retreat to the mountains and become a proper husband and wife. I want you to promise me that you'll be buried with me later, okay?" I nodded. "I promise you, I will definitely be buried with you." Receiving the affirmative answer, he finally closed his eyes. "Sorry, only when you are dead can I truly be at ease."